Welcome back to episode 8 of the Breakaway USA podcast with Fabian and Michael. My name is Gentry. We're going to be talking about some amazing things today. Amazon is putting out a brand new healthcare system, which I think could be really interesting. Senator Marsha Blackburn is going after the establishment, asking for the Epstein list and information on the DOJ investigation into Elon. We're going to be talking about Ronna McDaniel and the RNC debates, and also people getting put in jail for memes. And potentially we're going to talk about the Disney takeover with Nelson Peltz and Ira Perlmutter. So we got a lot to talk about. Michael,
why don't we with Vivek, actually?
Let's do it.
So Vivek, if you haven't been around or seen the Republican debates, Vivek has been smashing people, especially in his last one. He went full Trump. He went full nuclear option. And he roasted everyone on stage, but he called out specific inefficiencies and deficiencies that the RNC has, namely that they can't win.
Well, so that's one of his ongoing points for using TikTok and for using the, social media platforms in a way that actually attracts the next generation. Because ultimately, ideally you wouldn't have to use TikTok, but we need to win elections so that we don't have these clowns, these puppets in office that are being essentially handpicked and placed. And, we don't need to talk about elections right now, but we all know how they are taking place in the States. But so, yeah, we need to win elections. And that's one of his major points. And the RNC is so backwards. You have these, Mike Pence and Nikki Haley talking about the Ukraine war and wanting to keep funding Ukraine. And it's like you're living in a vacuum, like you're living in an echo chamber with your neocons and your donors and stuff, because the mainstream Republican base does not want that, has not wanted that from day one. And it's just silly, right? Ukraine is the most corrupt country in the world.
And I actually have a video of Vivek talking on stage, if we can pull that up and check it out.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful thing that he did. So let's watch Vivek roast people.
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018. 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party.
Here it comes.
For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you.
Roasted.
And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate?
He calls her straight to her face.
I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media.
Oh, here it goes.
The media establishment. Ask you the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years. Was that real, or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? And
boom, roasted.
So he's making all the right enemies, right? He's calling out everyone. He is like a populist second place, right? I don't think he's going to win against Trump. But the aftermath of this was really interesting. So actually, before the debate, apparently, he went up to Ronna McDaniel, shook her hand, and she said, "How's it going?" And Vivek said, "Well, after last night, not very good, because the elections were the night before, and Republicans got just demolished in, I think it's Virginia and Kentucky, right?
Yep.
And
what were the
Ohio,
elections? Can you?
There was
some governorships.
Yeah.
Abortion in Ohio.
Yeah. So Ronna had no idea. Apparently, she had no idea that was like a big deal.
Oh, she didn't even know that the elections took place, or what?
No, I think it just didn't affect her, or she didn't care about it because it was local. And so like that was the first thing. I think that's part of the reason why Vivek went off, is like she's not even concerned about local elections. Apparently, like they haven't taken responsibility for local elections in a long time. But then after after he said that, just demolished her and invited her to resign and say, hey, like, we need accountability. She then goes on and says, we're not giving him another red cent.
Yep.
Which is wild, by the way, because she's a custodian, right? She's a steward of the money that we're giving her. I mean, I haven't given any money to the RNC, and I don't think I will for a long time. But she's supposed to support people who are the front runners, no matter if they like her or if there's any like animosity.
And he's the clear front runner.
He's a clear second placer, but
front runner after Trump of the people on stage.
No, they're gaslighting. They're gaslighting people like crazy. People are saying that Nikki Haley won the debate last night.
Yeah,
or the other night.
The media definitely wants her. The establishment. Rather.
Even I've seen leftists talk about Nikki Haley, saying that Nikki Haley would beat Biden. And
but then she's trying to be like the Tulsi Gabbard of the right that fits in a little box, basically.
But then she goes on to, I can't remember what the interview was, but she goes on and says that Vivek voted for Biden and he's new to this whole, not Biden, Obama, and he's new to this whole thing. So like,
everybody voted for Obama at that time.
No, but he didn't vote for Obama. So she actually went out and told a lie that now he's having to go correct. The good news is no one's listening to Ronna McDaniel. Everyone's listening to Vivek because he's actually telling the truth.
Well, and one thing
the RNC is failing us.
Yeah, and not only that, but also the entire social media world is behind Vivek, not behind the RNC. You see people like DC Drano and other really, really big time conservative influencers, and all the comments are get rid of her. Make her resign.
The RNC is out of touch, man. This generation is they're out of touch, and Vivek's actually plugged into what's happening, right?
I feel like Vivek is doing what Trump did with the swamp, but Vivek is more directing his energy at the RNC for the deficiencies, which I love because it's great to call out the uniparty when you see it. And
100%.
For someone to do something like that, I think, in my personal opinion, he's trying to catch the eye of Trump for a cabinet position or even VP. I'm not sure if VP is the right place for him, but he does have a bright future ahead of him. But he has to prove to the Republican voters that he's real, not just a carpetbagger.
Right. Maybe as a consultant, he's said many times he wouldn't take a VP position or whatnot, but it would be great to have him. It'd be great to have every great mind in, on the conservative side to as a consultant, right? Because Trump was surrounded by horrible people that did not have America's best interest or his best interest at heart when he was running the country, right? They stifled him at every turn. Mark Meadows, obviously Kevin McCarthy, Lindsey Graham. Like a quick point on that. Actually, Lindsey Graham, I can almost assure you that Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell were happy to see Biden win over Trump. I think a lot of the rhinos were happy to see Biden win over Trump.
That's a strong statement.
I mean, I can see that if you're looking for things to keep going the way
because it's business as usual for them, right?
Yeah,
they're just as corrupt, dude. They're just as corrupt as Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham. These guys are making money through the back doors of Ukraine, I'm sure, right?
So my question is, and I actually have an answer to this, so bear with me. My question is, yes, really. My question is, the RNC is failing us like big time. They're losing like donors like crazy. What is the solution? I think I have it. I don't know if you guys know that Turning Point has a political action arm called Turning Point Action. Tyler Boyer and Austin Smith are running a podcast called the Swing State Update, and they're raising tons of money in these swing states to get people on the ground to go chase the vote. And they're saying that they're hiring hundreds, if not thousands, of people to go into these states to do it. And the crazy thing is they're doing more for the Republican Party than the Republican Party is right now. It is absolutely insane. So if no one's heard of that podcast, I definitely go check it out. Go give Tyler and Turning Point Action. The podcast is called the Swing State Update. It's actually fantastic. They had Blake Masters on. He's announcing that he's running for Congress the other day. I think it's
I love seeing that. I love seeing that more and more like grassroots people that aren't politicians by nature or by profession, that aren't professional politicians, are seeing that they have a responsibility to this country as responsible citizens, to step
what's
up and actually
crazy?
get involved.
I see the flip here happening as well. The way that the RNC and the DNC are run. Typically, it was the RNC that just said something and then everybody followed.
Right.
You wouldn't really deviate from that. And it was Democrats that had all these different ideas. But now it's the Democrats that are following this cultist mentality of this, alphabet soup. And the Republicans are starting to divide and be more individualistic, which is in their nature, by nature. So I love that all these organizations are starting to say, you know what, screw that. We need a win. We don't need the uniparty to keep power forever. So let's start doing our own thing. And be honest with you, I don't know anybody who talks about the RNC or what they're doing. Everyone talks about what's happening, like the real world, not this made up world where Mitt Romney's, it's his niece is in charge of the RNC.
Ronna McDaniel's his niece?
Yeah, her maiden name is Romney. Ronna Romney McDaniel.
That tells you a lot. I didn't know
tells
that.
You everything you need to know.
Yeah,
everything you need to know. But I think there is like a pretty big switch coming, to be honest. I went to a Turning Point Action event in July, and my thoughts coming out of it was like Turning Point is going to appropriate the RNC.
Love it.
Either they're going to take over and start like their own political party, or they're just going to figure out how to get someone as the chair and then hire all of their people and do all of their media, because I think it's going to be it's going to be an amazing thing, especially if we can get like grassroots people on social media, activists like ourselves. Like the DNC is hiring a whole bunch of these like online characters to swing votes, and the Republicans, the GOP, RNC, they're just not grasping it, and they're looking at the next election. And I feel like the Democrats are looking down the road and saying social media is where the battle is happening, and like we're doing it. We're not even really getting paid for it. Like we're just doing it because we love it,
right?
Because we're fighting, because we know that America is worth fighting for, or Canada, right? We're trying to do good, and we're trying to. I mean, honestly, we're trying to get noticed by these characters who are running this thing, and we're not getting noticed. And I'm not just talking about me or you guys. I'm talking about everybody in general.
Yeah.
Right. So like, where is all like?
Well, grassroots people like us or whoever is, Turning Point Action is doing, like, cares more about the outcome or the future of the country than the people that are supposed to be actually doing it, right? That are getting paid to do it. It's baffling.
I think one of the biggest issues that the RNC or the Republican Party has had is that they spend more and more and more and more on traditional media. And who owns the media? Mostly Republicans. So the more money they can siphon in there, the more money that they can make. So they keep pumping this narrative of, let's just make more ad buys. Let's make more ad buys, $1 billion in ads. All that money is going essentially back to them, from the donors to the rich. The Democratic Party has done a very good job at transitioning to alternative media. Dylan Mulvaney. I mean, look at what whatever he's become. And I say he because that's I speak logically. But the Republican National Committee has not understood that transition had to have happened years ago. Build that infrastructure for the next coming elections, and now we see the ramifications of the same old not working anymore. That's why we've lost 2020, 2022. And if Trump and Vivek were not in the picture right now, imagine how lackluster and how horrible the Republican candidates would be. I mean, who's left? I mean, there's really no one who I would even go out of the house to go meet, let alone vote for.
I want to bring it back quickly to local races, because it's super important. Beyond the social media and beyond actually like modernizing your approach to getting the vote out, if you will, the local races, if we have not learned that they are important yet, which we should have a long time ago. Look what's happening to our cities. That's what Elon Musk talks about with Rogan. He's saying that George Soros figured out that the most bang for buck you're going to get when you're funding politicians is at the local races, because you don't have to change the laws. All you got to do is change the way they're enforced.
One of the things he noticed was that that the value for money in local races is much higher than it is in national races. So the lowest value for money is a presidential race. Then next lowest value for money is a Senate race, then a Congress, and then. But once you get to sort of city and state district attorneys, the value for money is extremely good. And Soros realized that you don't actually need to change the laws; you just need to change how they're enforced. If nobody chooses to enforce the law, or the laws are differentially enforced, it's like changing the laws. Well, he's doing things that erode the fabric of civilization. Getting DAs elected who refuse to prosecute crime. That's part of the problem in San Francisco and LA and a bunch of other cities. So why would you do that?
So it's the same idea as the Supreme Court legislating from the bench. So this is it's something that I haven't heard of spoken about a lot, but judges are supposed to enforce the law in the spirit of the law and actually, not interpret it based on their own biases and their prejudices, right? Same thing for DAs and prosecutors, but now they're choosing not to prosecute crime. But so we have to understand that these local races are crucially important, almost more important than the highest races, right? And I think people like Elon Musk should start funding local races like George Soros is. Like, are the conservative billionaires need to realize, well, this is where there's a war going on here at the grassroots, at the base political spectrum, right? And we need to start fighting there more than even the top, because the presidential election, first of all, if there is fair elections in 2024, there's no way that Trump doesn't win. It's like by a landslide. He won in 2020 by a landslide. But, so there's a serious effort that we're going to have to put into making sure that the election is not a shit show. But we need to go for the local races and get these DA positions back that they're destroying. Like, what's happening? They're third world country cities, right? Like,
well,
it's insane.
and that goes exactly to what I was saying. Like the DNC have these influencers who are local to their region that they can tap and say, look, we have a local race. We need you to meet with this guy, interview him, talk about him, to expose them. The RNC being a national organization, it's incredibly hard for them to get and cause excitement for a local candidate that people probably don't know and win with 5,000 or 6,000 votes, but have a massive impact in their society, like we see happening all around us. Especially, Gentry lives in Seattle area, and I live obviously in Los Angeles. So we've seen the degradation of society because of these people that you don't even know their names, but they get empowered with 15,000 votes, and now they're destroying our cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the money, for a presidential race, George Soros put something like $500 million or something. But then at a local race, if he puts in $100,000, $500,000, it's going to turn the race, because there's not a lot of funding there. There's not a lot of attention going there. So he's realized that the bang for buck is huge. Absolutely. To actually reshape society, which is crazy. Like you don't have to change the laws anymore. You don't have to go to the Senate. You don't have to go to the House. You just have to fund these ideologue judges, prosecutors, and it's scary to see. But we know the tactic now. This is one more tactic that now we understand that we have to, let's say, appropriate or take back and use the same, because we got to start playing dirty. Let's be real. They're like, as much as conservatives want to play by the rules and whatnot, if you're playing against an opponent that's cheating, you have to at least root out the cheating or start to play dirty as well.
So, Mike, you actually bring up a really good point. Like, why is Soros and why are all these like mega donors focusing on local races? Maybe because it's really, really important, right? I feel like Republicans in our side, we're only looking at the big races, right? We're only looking at Congress, Senate, president, and we're totally ignoring these local races. Why? Like, if these billionaire people are placing DAs and they're placing judges and they're putting money into like even council races, like, why aren't we paying attention to that?
Yeah.
Elon Musk on the Joe Rogan podcast, he actually talked about potentially going in and doing exactly what Soros is doing.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Just on our side.
Great.
So he implied it, So he didn't come out and say it, but whenever he implies something, he usually follows through because he's freaking Elon Musk.
There's one thing
clearly.
about the left, specifically the left, but the Democrats as well, that they do very well. And it's something that you wouldn't typically think about, but it's activism and rallying. When you get someone out and they meet other people in the cause, they become exponentially more invested in the cause because they are physically meeting people and they make friends. Now, and they typically live in cities, so it's easily accessible to join these rallies. The problem with, let's say, a conservative rally is, you live in maybe smaller towns that don't have as many people, or you live kind of further away from people, so you have to travel. There's more of an impediment to get there. And just by nature, conservative people don't really rally that well, right? Like you don't really have the kind of leftist activism element to the rallies. They're more conservative rallies, right? You have the flags and, you maybe chant a few things, but you're not out there being these leftist activists that
Loud
we see.
and obnoxious and annoying.
Exactly. But the benefit that they have in doing that is that the people meet people, even people who maybe kind of on the fence or a little bit, oh yeah, I'll go check it out. When they get there and they see the excitement and they meet friends and now they're all a part of this thing, that makes them go out and vote and be louder and be more obnoxious and try to recruit more people.
They're also likely being paid.
They're absolutely. So on the left, the left has figured that out. And I think it's time for, the conservative movement to do something similar without the obnoxious part.
Well, so we've spoken about it before, but it's a Saul Alinsky tactic. It's pressure from above and pressure from below. And this is something that's happened with color revolutions in Eastern Europe that George Soros has implemented, or strategies implemented many times in Eastern Europe. And this is not conjecture. This is well documented in the color revolutions in Ukraine, in many of these countries. But so what they do is they have to give the illusion that there is this grassroots fervor that the people want this change, and then the politicians can then come in and say, look, the people want it. But meanwhile, it's just a loud minority that's actually planted for that purpose. And it's very well, strategized. It's not coincidence. It's not a fluke. It's not organic. It's something
not
that
organic. That's the main term. Yep.
Yeah. It's very they have think tanks that are constantly planning how to, if you don't think that they've been planning a way to mess around with the election for the last 4 years or 3 years since they did the last one, from the moment Trump got into office in 2016, they were trying to figure out how to get rid of him in a way that the optics actually, they couldn't just oust him for no reason, right? But think about it, that the Russia hoax from day one, you didn't have to be an investigative journalist to see what are they even saying. They're saying that Donald Trump Jr. met with Russians to put memes on Facebook. That's your claim, first of all.
Speaking of memes, I know we have a actually very interesting story about memes.
Speaking of memes, yeah, let's do it. Oh, do you want me to? Oh, but getting loose here.
This guy's popping out of his getting excited.
Got a little pumping.
We just found out that Michael is a stud in the gym this morning.
No, it's just a behemoth.
Hits bench once time, shirt pops off.
Yeah, the shirt doesn't fit me anymore after one bench.
So the meme defense fund. Let's bring it up.
Yeah, let me share the screen. Present,
because this is very interesting and could have huge ramifications for all of us.
Yeah, especially us, right? So the meme defense fund here, it's Douglas Mackey, who is being arrested and charged for, I guess, election interference. What's the claim? That he spread misinformation. They're trying to get him in prison for 10 years. They're using a law that is for kidnapping and intimidation. But so this is the meme. This is the meme. And I mean, so there is something to be said that this is actually kind of looks like an actual ad, an actual political ad.
Powered by Microsoft.
It's ridiculous. I mean, he's got HillaryClinton.com. Maybe he could have done something to make it a little more obvious that it was a meme, but to put somebody in jail for 10 years for something like this. So he goes, vote for 10 years. Vote from home. Oh. 10 years they're trying to get him.
Hillary got 0 for deleting 33,000 emails, and he's getting 10 years for one meme that he made on an editor.
Like, it's crazy. On November
What's
8th,
that
type
about?
the word Hillary and posted to Twitter or Facebook using the hashtag presidential election between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. to cast your vote for Hillary from home. Okay, so I guess what they're going for is like, oh, he was trying to incite Democrats to not go in to vote. I get it, but like, really? Like there's people caught ballot stuffing these ballot drop boxes, which are illegal to begin with. I mean, okay, we're not going to get into the election.
Do we know how many people have seen this meme or saw it before it became a thing, like before he got prosecuted?
I don't know, but let's actually look at her reaction, because she reacted to this in an interview.
He went on trial, and this is Hillary Clinton describing that meme.
There was just a trial in Brooklyn where a guy who had been one of the main, I guess he was one of the main people running memes against me in 2016.
She looks like hell. She looks like the devil. Sorry.
He went from what you could consider free speech. I mean, both Nancy and I have pretty thick skins. People say all kinds of things about us. But he went from that to running a very deliberate effort to mislead people about where and how to vote. Yeah. So it went from speech to action meant to subvert the election, because thousands of people who they targeted through their algorithms. Oh, I can text my vote for Hillary Clinton.
So
Through their algorithm.
Whose algorithm?
Their algorithm.
Yeah, right. Their
I see what she's doing there. That was subtle, but I caught that one. Can't get that past me. You can't work a worker.
But so, I mean, they controlled Twitter at that time, Facebook. They literally, you had Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of the main social media platform in the world, funding $400 million to get drop boxes all around the country because of the COVID mass mail-in ballots. They mailed out 3 mail-in ballots per person, and just, you have the 2,000 Mules. What's it called? The movie by Dinesh D'Souza. I mean, they have the gall is incredible, anyways. But can I just actually see his reaction quickly?
I want to deconstruct that in some greater detail in a minute, but Hillary Clinton apparently took that very seriously. You were using quote algorithms to subvert the election with that meme.
I don't even really know what she means by that. I don't know. I guess you post something and it gets taken up into algorithms. I'm not exactly sure. I was surprised that she said that.
Did you have personal algorithms that you used?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's good.
Just copy, paste, and click a button.
Yeah. So like everyone else on social media, you see something funny, you post it.
That's right.
Okay.
That's hilarious. I love how he answered that.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not sure.
What the hell she talking
Copy
about?
and paste.
It reminds me of in the Senate, they're like, when they ask questions to Zuckerberg or to the CEO of TikTok, and they're like, do you use the internet? Do people have to use? It's like,
no, my favorite was when Mark Zuckerberg was questioned and they said, how do you make money? And he said, Senator, we run ads.
Well, if so, how do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
That's when my head just bursts, and I'm like, these people are so far beyond knowing what's happening in the world, and they're making the decision. It's not really them making decisions on it, because they don't know what the hell is happening. It's their staff and the people that are pushing, above the staff that are saying, hey, tell them to say this.
Yeah. And also these bills that are yay high, are they writing them? They're getting handed to them by pharmaceutical companies, by different lobbyists, right? They're not writing these bills. They don't know what the hell's in them. All they do is make sure that they put their ornament on it to make sure that they get money through Ukraine back into their pockets, right? What a joke.
This whole thing is really, it's really disturbing to me, because it's like I feel like it's the antithesis of free speech, because I mean, it's a meme. You can't vote from home.
Right.
You just can't do it. And so he's
that's
putting out something.
That's
funny.
That's how funny it is that people would believe that, because that's how ridiculous we've gotten, where you could just text in to vote and they're like, oh, sick, we can do that. That's great.
Well, I mean, it'd be great if we could do that. I think there's probably some blockchain application in the future that we'll be able to do that. but apparently no one fell for it. So there's no victims here. They're putting him on a trial.
It's all symbolic
for posting a meme, and so like it makes me worried because I've shared thousands of memes. Like, am I going to go to jail?
10 years for every meme, Gentry.
10
We'll see
years
you
for
when
every meme.
we'll see you when you're 80,000 years old.
So
In the
just a
Matrix.
reminder, we didn't really mention it, but the Meme Defense Fund, I guess you can donate. I don't know if you want to or not, but that's just a reminder that that's actually a case going on. But so why are they doing it? I mean, it's similar to January 6th, right? Like, clearly they're going after people that were not violent. There's clear evidence. They're withholding evidence. It's all about deterring future action.
Could you believe there? So here in LA,
Scaring
there was
people.
a homeless man. I'm not going to call him vagrant because they want to change the terminology now. There was a homeless guy who was a drug addict who assaulted a woman from behind. I don't know if you saw this video, but assaulted her from behind, and someone had to step in and try to help her out. She had, she got really hurt. Gascon, our DA, decided to not charge the guy. Okay, not charge the guy. This guy is getting 10 years for sharing a meme. I mean, the irony writes itself. The irony absolutely writes itself. The other guy in New York who saved, the white guy with the curly hair, the ex-Marine, who saved that woman by choking out the guy, they want to put him in prison. Like any normal sane
that couple, remember that couple
person.
when there was a BLM riot and they were going by and they were coming into their houses and they had the guns on the porch, which they're legally allowed to do, but then too they went after, right? Any kind of force, any kind of like straight like American values of protecting your property, and they need to root that out.
So let's go back to the platform Twitter that Douglas Mackey actually posted this election interference on. I mean, we're missing the obvious one.
Yeah, the FBI.
They censored the Hunter Biden laptop story that they did polling afterwards, and 20 to 30% of people, if they would have known about the Hunter Biden laptop story, would not have voted for Biden.
Yeah.
Where's the prosecution for that?
Actually, can you explain exactly what that is? Because I feel like a lot of people still don't understand what happened. People are kind of out of the loop because it was shoved under the rug so bad that some people don't even know, is it real? Is it fake? What was it? What did they say was on it?
A lot of people that follow us would, but I think it's worth going through if you want to.
So the Hunter Biden laptop story, it starts with him dropping off a laptop with everything on it, literally everything, all of his like crazy sex stuff.
I'm sorry, Hunter Biden is not a normal guy. He's not a normal guy.
Hunter Biden is not a normal guy, right? He is a drug addict. He likes prostitutes. He potentially likes kids, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that's just wrong. But he also
with his dead brother's wife and had a relationship with her. Like,
he's
there's videos of him smoking crack. Like, what? First of all, smoking crack. Why are you taking videos of yourself smoking crack? Why do you have all this? Like, what's going? Like, what a weirdo.
I mean, the guy who was fixing his laptop because there was a whole bunch of viruses and stuff on it. He's like, oh, this is interesting. And then Hunter Biden apparently didn't come pick it up, and so he's like, well, I probably should drop this off with the FBI. The FBI had it for a long time, didn't unveil that they had it, and then it got turned over to, I think it was Vish Burra, by the way, who is George Santos's like comms guy. Like, if you don't follow him, like definitely go follow him on Twitter. He's fantastic. So Vish goes and gives it to Bannon at War Room, and so Bannon breaks his story, and then all hell breaks loose. Right. So there's like pictures and videos of him doing very lewd stuff to hookers, and there's like money trails to business dealings to paying off like this prostitute ring in Russia or Ukraine. There's just so much stuff on there that is wild. And the big story, though, is that Twitter censored the story and kicked people off for posting it before the election. Because all this stuff was breaking like months before the election. Yeah. If this guy is getting 10 years, I think that everyone involved, it was Twitter, it was the DNC, it was potentially people in the Trump White House that were bad actors that were trying to get Trump out. There's so many people involved in this thing that like we need justice for.
Yeah, that was number one. It was planned. It was deliberately planned to subjugate that information. So you're denying the voters what they need to make an important informed decision on whether or not they want this guy who has a son that's banging hookers, smoking crack, getting bribes, like literally the worst person that you
we
can
didn't even talk about the ties with him and the big guy, right? And actually funneling money and him being essentially the agent for the Biden crime family to extort other countries and do basically pay for play operations with foreign nationals in China and Ukraine. You know, he's on the board of Burisma, an energy company. This guy's a crackhead and doesn't know shit about energy.
So on that topic, 2 days ago, breaking news, the White House Oversight Committee has subpoenaed Hunter Biden, James Biden, and Rob Walker on exactly what you're talking about. All of this pay for play, bribes, money dealings, 10% to the big guy. So they are looking into this. So there is movement on this, which is good. It's like 3 years too late.
Yeah.
Right.
But think about if there was even a discussion whatsoever about anything like this for Trump during his office, he'd be out in a heartbeat.
There's been a ton of discussion about Trump on this thing, but there's
They
been no
found
proof.
nothing. They found nothing.
They found nothing.
Nothing.
It's all
remember the Russians that were peeing on him, the Russian prostitutes that apparently were peeing on him in a hotel room, and they got video.
I
And
don't
that's why
remember that.
But you still, well, no, I mean, it was made up, but you still have people like Bill Maher saying Trump is the most corrupt president. And he, you know, it's like this guy is the one president. He's the only president in the history of the country that had a lower net worth when he left office than when he entered office. And he donated his salary every quarter to a different faction, a different organization within the government, like to the Navy, to the military, something like that, right?
I think this is exactly what the Democrats are planning to do with Biden to get him out, expose him to get. And even Vivek said,
Newsom.
look, just tell us who it's going to be. Is it going to be Michelle Obama that you're going to run or Gavin Newsom so that we can actually have an honest conversation about the future of the country?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like this is something that they're allowing because we all know the FBI has known about this for who knows how long. If we're finally hearing about it, they known about it for years.
Yeah.
So the information that they allow to be leaked, or not they allowed, but that they allow to see the light of day, is information that they want to push whatever narrative that they're pushing. And the people in control of the FBI are doing exactly that. So this is, I believe, a step into getting rid of Biden before the next election and getting Michelle Obama or Gavin Newsom to go in there and say, all that stuff that you hate about Biden, guess what? Maybe I do too. But here's the future of the Democratic Party.
Right. It's actually, if I were them, that would be the strategy, is just to insert right at the end so that they don't have any time to look into this person, into their corruption, into their, whatever. But so two things about that to realize is that Biden's not the only one doing this. The FBI knows about this, but all of the rest of the politicians, permanent Washington, knew about this for sure. And they are doing the same thing. It's not just Biden doing this. You don't think Obama did this? You don't think Mitch McConnell?
They're all
did
taking
this?
notes to see how to not get caught doing the same thing now.
Exactly. Nancy Pelosi. And it's the uniparty. It's the people that have been there for 30, 40 years that are geriatrics that are crumbling in front of our eyes. Mitch McConnell needs to go into a long-term care facility just like Biden does. The guy's glitching on live television. Like, what is going on, dude? Like,
and a string of
running for re-election in 2026.
that's
Did you hear the question, Senator? Running for re-election in 2026?
not okay. But at least when that happens on the Republican side or the conservative side, conservatives are like, all right, we got, like, this is not okay. Like, get out of here. Like, but
yeah, I remember when Hillary Clinton glitched. Remember that? Apparently it was a flu, but then she was back a day later or so, just looking healthy as hell.
I don't actually remember.
gosh.
I remember her, like, something happening. I didn't remember her actually glitching. She did have a moment.
Yeah, she fainted, and they were
Right.
basically like picking her up and walking her to the car with the Secret Service trying to surround her.
Right. No, but Mitch McConnell's literally like,
No, he's seriously glitching. He's like resetting his entire system.
what is going? That's a good way of putting it.
He took a little mini nap.
That's like when you hit download and reset on accident, and then you have to wait just for whatever
The blue circle of death.
Yeah, the blue circle of death.
Mitch, you there? I mean, it's not nice to laugh about, but it's just like it's blatant in our face.
No, but this is serious because
serious.
the United States is the most important country in the entire world, and we have numbskulls running it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was at a comedy show the other day at the Laugh Factory here in Hollywood, and one of the comedians made a very funny joke. He's talking about Nancy Pelosi and how they were wheelchairing her. Not Pelosi, Feinstein. How they were wheelchairing her into the Senate like a hostage to go vote. And he goes, "How much do you have to hate your family to go work at 90 years old? Like, how much?" How bad does your family suck? He was at 90 years old. The last thing I'm going to want to do is go vote on something I don't even understand. And it was very true, you know.
Did she die?
Yeah,
she did. Eh?
Yeah. And I remember one of the last votes she made. She essentially was wheeled in there, and she was trying to talk about something, and then the staff comes over and says, "Just say yes or no, whatever the vote was."
And it funds priorities. Submit it.
Yeah, just say aye.
Okay, just aye.
Thank you.
She goes, "Oh, apparently
Banana Republic.
Yes,
we like at the top rungs. It's a banana republic. I'm optimistic because we see these grassroots conservative movements happening and people taking action and actually seeing that we need to get involved in the political side of it. It's either we start getting involved in the political side of it, or we completely build a breakaway parallel economy, parallel society, and tear it to the ground, because it's almost at that point where it's irreversible.
Well, I see people taking over again, like how we were talking about earlier, organizations that really care about the economy and the world and not just their own pockets. Yeah. I think we're seeing the decentralization of influence in politics right before our eyes.
Yeah.
Because we know that the DNC is not controlling the left. That's a whole other organization that's controlling that. The DNC is just happy right now because they're activating people and they're saying, okay, fine, like let them do what they're going to do. We can't control them. Just like Mao, after a while, couldn't control the Red Guard, but they served a purpose while they were doing what they were doing. The right has the opposite problem, where they're decentralizing, and the structure, the base, not the base, but the power structure doesn't want to let go of that power, because they're all getting enriched and getting fat by allowing that to propagate, and they don't have any control over what's happening. Because I truly think that the public town square in Twitter is changing the entire nature of the game. And just how long has Elon owned Twitter for? Just over a year, maybe? And in just that short time span, we're seeing this massive fracturing of the conservative movement to people who really care about it and not just care about getting rich off it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm optimistic about where it's headed. So, but we need to. So actually, could we quickly talk about Breakaway USA and the impetus for the name? And we haven't actually dove in. We haven't actually dived into the idea of a parallel economy yet, which we should do a whole podcast on, the parallel economy, parallel society. But Gentry, you're very familiar with this. You want to kind of tap in?
Yeah. So essentially the parallel economy is going away from all these companies and corporations that have gone woke, that the values don't line up with your values. It kind of like be someone who's like married and a Christian and they're listening to rap music, right? Talking about like drugs and hookers and cocaine. It's like, it doesn't match up with your values. And so the parallel economy essentially is there's a ton of companies out there creating alternatives to these big mainstream companies, so that we don't have to spend our dollar supporting a company that hates America and essentially hates you. So, for example, Public Square is now it's an e-commerce platform. It's the largest directory of Patriot-owned businesses, and what they're trying to do is direct your dollars from whatever local company you want to support to a local company that actually is American and supports your values, all that kind of stuff. Because so here's a fantastic example. So Public Square started a company called Every Life. It's a diaper company, and they're unapologetically pro-life. What's really interesting is that a lot of these diaper companies are funding abortions. Which to me doesn't even make sense. Like if you're a diaper company, you're gonna want to make more customers, right? You don't want to support abortion. So like they're
that's how ideologically possessed they are, is that they're going against their own interest.
So it's stuff like that. And since we couldn't call our podcast the Parallel Podcast, we decided to call it the Breakaway, because in a large sense, what we're trying to do is break away from the mainstream, which is not the majority anymore, and creates new pathways, new ways to do like commerce, and new ways to consume media. I mean, we're only a small part of this very large movement that's going on, but I see the ripple effect. We're just getting started, and it's going to be a huge movement in the future. And you're not going to want to miss it, and you're not going to want to spend your dollars to a company that's going to go support the DNC, that's going to support Planned Parenthood, support all these evil organizations that hate you.
And one of the beautiful things about this parallel economy is that it's giving you the power. It's giving the power back to the money that you own. It's giving you the option to put it where you want to put it. A lot of these companies have been swept up by these transnational corporations that just own everything. So while you think you have 500 options of ranch sauce at the grocery store, all of those ranch sauces are owned by a few multinational corporations like Monsanto. So when you think you have a choice, in actuality, you don't, because they're all poisoning you, and they don't care, because they're so far removed from the individual consumer that they don't care the chemicals they put in these items. And then they lobby Congress to not ban these chemicals that are killing us and causing diabetes and heart attacks. A company with values like we used to have before we got super corporatized actually has the values of the individual people. So if you know the face of the company and they're local to it, to let's say a town or a city or a state, it behooves them to make the people healthy, because that's what their values are. So their products are going to be emblematic of what they value as people. And as individual consumers, we're going to want to place our money where, number one, we know that it's not poisoning us, and two, that it aligns with our values. And that's why I believe that parallel economy, along with this decentralization of politics, is the next frontier, the next generation of what it means to be free and actually get our freedom back.
So that's the parallel economy. I'll touch on the idea of a parallel society, which is essentially kind of breaking away from the establishment political structure and saying, all right, well, let's do citizen trials, because ultimately government in the US and in North America doesn't function without our consent. And it seems to me like they are acting more and more without the consent of we the people. So at some point it's deemed illegitimate, in my opinion. And there's a way, I think there's a way of actually kind of saying, all right, well, if we can't fix this thing that is broken, that is so corrupted at its core, which we should try to do, we should also actually build systems that are separate from that, and things that we believe in, things that we consent to, because ultimately we've lived in this system for a long time, but it's not the end all be all, and countries rise and fall, and there's going to have to be shifts. So if we start to at least build, the ideological framework, that maybe not ideological, because I just hate that word, but if we build the framework from which to work with, then we can implement it as, these geriatrics start to croak. Maybe I'll take that out.
Leave it in, dude. I love how you're saying the quiet part out loud. Citizen trials.
Yeah. Well, but people are actually doing that. And if you think about the 2020 election, all the trials were just not covered by the mainstream media at all. All the trials in Arizona, in Michigan, in Georgia, you had Rudy Giuliani and Jenna Ellis going all around the country presenting evidence, and there was just no focus paid to it, even by the mainstream Republican rhinos. Mitch McConnell, like, they all maintained that the election was perfect. Mike Pence, like, nobody was paying attention to this because they didn't want to, because I think they truly wanted Biden to win. A lot of these RNC guys, they wanted to get, the wrench out of the machine, which is Trump. But something I've mentioned before is who decides our elections at the end of the day. And the thing is that it's weird to think about, but the media effectively decides our elections. The mainstream media, think about Fox News calling Arizona with like 10% of the vote in. That was weird, right?
Well, you know something I'm thinking about right now? Okay, let's say you're Mitch McConnell, and you know how old he is, and you know his affinity towards technology, or his inability to use technology. Now,
his lack of affinity too.
Exactly. Sorry. So you hear that the election was stolen, that there were irregularities. Do you think he's going on Twitter and looking at all the timestamps for all the ballots that were being dropped off in Arizona and stuff like that? And he's looking at all the video and he's hearing different aspects and different. No, absolutely not. He's told something by his staff, and whatever his staff tells him, they said, you know what? We've researched it and there's nothing there. Now he goes out on national television and he says there's nothing there. But in reality, he has no idea what he's even talking about. We as people, both you and I, we have more information about that than he does, because he's not, as I said, he's not doing investigations. He doesn't know how to even do investigations online to find videos and look at things. He doesn't have the time to do it. So the politicians are less informed than we are.
Yeah, 100%. And so, but we have to understand that the media is, I mean, it's losing its power, and this shift away from it is very important. But every election since the beginning of the founding of the country was decided on the night of the election. On the night of the election, Trump was winning in all of these swing states and all these bellwether counties, and he was winning by 800,000 votes in Pennsylvania the night of. And then they called the election a week later. And the only reason this is possible is because the mainstream media normalized it. They normalized the idea of still taking in mail-in ballots 3 days after the election, because they had time to count the votes and see how many votes they needed, like that kind of nonsense. I mean, we might not be able to post this on Instagram, unfortunately, but maybe we will and test the line again to see if our account gets banned. But the media is so crucial to the perception of the matrix that the country and the population lives under. But thank God we're deviating away from that. But it's such a weird concept that the media essentially declares who wins the election and decide. And that's why in 2016, I'll stop my rant in a sec. 2016, I'm catching myself these times at least now. In 2016, they were so taken aback because it was like it was so unexpected that Trump would even make headway, let alone win. And they're like caught in like a deer in the headlights. In 2020, they were ready to have a coordinated mainstream media propaganda narrative to put out to the public, and it worked.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. No.
Yeah.
Fool me once, shame on you.
Yeah,
Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
They don't want to shame themselves.
Right, exactly. So they were ready, man. And it's honestly, it was a masterclass in how to subvert the will of an entire country. Like it's crazy what they did.
So there is some good news though. A lot of these evil actors, I think, are going to get uncovered sooner than later. I don't know if you saw Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee went in front of, I think it was the Senate, and she subpoenaed the Epstein list, like the Epstein list that we haven't seen.
She was also the one who asked Tanya Brown Jackson, "What is a woman?" I just want to put that out there.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
So she's been on fire recently. So she subpoenaed the Epstein list, which I think the Democrats are very scared of, because at the top of that list is probably a lot of the people that they want to run against Trump next year.
Yeah.
So if that list comes out, we are going to have a field day. Everyone is going to watch this. When this list gets released, there's going to be a ton of resignations.
This will change the entire landscape of this country, the entire landscape.
But so who has this list? The FBI?
Probably.
What is this list? You know,
here's something I'm thinking about.
I think he was a CIA agent almost.
Mossad
that's what everyone's saying. Yeah.
So
but here's what I'm thinking. Is the reason why the left is being allowed to push this minor attracted person narrative so hard now more and more every day,
so they can
because they're in the expectation that when this list comes out, they're going to say it's okay. There's nothing wrong. Love is love.
My goodness.
Yeah,
that's a thought.
Interesting.
If love is love, I'm gonna name my gun Love.
Can't take my love away from me.
Why? And I don't want to go too into conspiracy land, but if love is love and it's okay to, whatever, this whole trans issue, why are they pushing it so hard? Maybe they're going to run Big Mike, and maybe we're going to find out something later on. That's going to be a mic drop.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's not there. Listen, there's a non-zero probability that that's factually true. And if there's a non-zero probability, then anyone can talk about anything, because there's actually a possibility that that's true. There's actually a non-zero possibility that I'm a woman. So that's okay. And anyone can say, he might be a woman. He might be.
You just blew my mind.
Is there a non-zero possibility, Fabian?
There's a non-zero possibility about
everything,
anything,
I guess.
The sun wouldn't even rise tomorrow morning.
Yeah, right. But so the Big Mike thing, I mean, it would be very easy to, debunk that. It's just show us a picture of him.
Of what?
Of her pregnant.
Oh,
no, not of that. No. All right. Well,
we already had pictures of the other thing.
Yeah. Right. We have pictures of it. We have videos of it bouncing around. So,
crazy.
I mean, there's simple stuff there. Show us a picture of them dating when they're younger. I don't know. Whatever.
And look, why is it so bad to talk about this? I don't understand. It's not like, oh my gosh, like I can't. What's so wrong about it? Like, I question people's sex all the time. I live in Hollywood. You never know, right? I don't want to know. So what's such a big issue about it that, oh my gosh, you can't talk about it?
Well,
Why?
because the implication is that they've been living a lie for,
But that's not my fault.
No.
I'm not the one who's
of course not.
potentially perpetrating a lie. That's
Right.
that's not me. So if I question it, that's what the law does. The law questions to get to the truth. So why can't I question whatever I want? I thought, we live in America.
Of course. Oh no, it's not. The problem is that there's people that are making and restructuring the rules of the game of how normal free speech works.
Like, the left attacks you with baseless claims and makes you defend them, even though they're not true, right? So,
well, they're very good at using rhetoric to completely manufacture a fictional reality. They're masters of rhetoric in terms of propagandizing any terms, any ideas. With this whole Palestine thing is a perfect example. Using the word apartheid, using the term open air prison, like this is like, it's ridiculous, right? And genocidal and whatnot. Like they know how to use words in a way that is cheating, if you will, and it's like lies, but it's the way they've learned to manipulate people, right? They're very manipulative, and the facts are not on their side. The history is not on their side. We know ultimately what their ideas lead to, and it's no bueno.
I'd like to make a quick point about the Free Palestine issue. So you have the same BLM people that are being activated to push this. Clearly, we can see that, and we know what's happening. The ironic thing, or the sad thing, it's not really, it is ironic. I have a friend who's been pushing the issue so hard. She lives in Sweden, so never been to Palestine, whatever. I said, why are you pushing this? Like, what, do you know anyone from Palestine, or do you know? She said, I just think it's wrong that you have so many people living in an open air prison. And I said, but listen, I've never seen you post anything about the Uyghurs in China. And she said, what's that? I said, exactly. I said, did you know that there are millions of Muslims living in an open air prison for decades and decades?
But literally concentration camps, essentially.
Exactly. That cannot procreate with their own kind, that cannot practice their religion, that are under camera surveillance every second, every day, that have to have knives. If you have a knife, they have to be attached to a chain so you can't use it to try to cause a riot, that have a serial number engraved with your information. So if that knife is used, it comes back to you. Who have members of the CCP living inside of their homes, literally living inside their homes, getting the children to tell them with candy what their parents are talking about. These are people who are completely subjugated, and yet I don't ever hear anything on the mainstream media about this. And I've made videos about this. You've had people from the UN go to China and see the situation and come back and essentially say, I mean, everything's pretty much okay there. And these are Muslim, Turkic-speaking, Western Chinese people who do live in an open-air prison and don't get talked about. Because why? Because China owns a lot of the media, and you can't talk about China. I mean, look at LeBron James, right? The guy can't even say anything bad about China.
And you're not being told to be enraged about it, right? It's just the new thing that people are virtue signaling with. So we've been going for a while. Do we wrap this up? Do we want to talk one more topic before we go, or we're good?
I think we're good.
All right. So Gentry, you want to close us off?
Yeah, well, that's all the time we have for now. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have made it this far, please don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends. We're on all the platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Spotify. For now. Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Rumble, YouTube, X. So everything. Follow us there, share with a friend.
Particularly follow us on Twitter and Rumble, because those are places where we can actually say everything we want to.
Exactly. So follow us, share, and thank you so much for listening.
Take care, folks.